Just kidding.
30.
Oh, are we?
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to Fridays with Springfield Leather.
Hello.
We're back again.
We're always here for you.
Boy, are we back.
So we brought back Kevin again because he has a word for all of you people who were so disappointed on Wednesday if you didn't get any calf. So
Yeah, you know, I got to tell you, I don't go home at night and watch the home shopping networks. I did that once, and I realized, wow, those people are selling a lot of stuff on there. And Wednesday, when we brought the French calf out, I had no idea what response that was going to bring.
I didn't.
That was incredible. It tied up our phones all morning.
yeah, those poor office ladies, they deserve a hug after
really do.
Wednesday.
And I felt so bad that so many people that weren't able to watch it right then, they watched it later and they weren't able to get anything. And I just felt terrible about that. And the reason for that is because we honestly are trying hard to get to do a win-win thing here. We want to get things into people's hands so they can make money, like I explained on Wednesday. Because we know if you make money, we'll make money, and everybody wins. So anyway, that just kind of woke me up a little bit. I don't know if
He didn't know there were so many of you out there watching us every week.
I don't know if anything can wake you up.
Well, it's sort of like Black Friday when people stand in line for a television set and they're the last ones and don't get one. You know,
that's the pits.
Sorry.
Anyway, we're going to watch for stuff like that. We're going to try and make it a little more, I guess, in some instances, as friendly as possible to where as many people as possible can take advantage of the deal.
Well, there was a lot of people that definitely took advantage of it, but our supply was so small. And so please just keep that in mind. Just so you guys know, every Wednesday we offer specials. Usually they're not that large. That was kind of the largest lot of leather that we have ever attempted to do. Typically on Facebook, every Wednesday we have some sort of fun little special that we offer. It'll be 5 to 10 skins of whatever it is that we found that's cool that week. And we do the What Up Wednesdays on our Facebook page. This is the first time that we've ever tried it through YouTube, and it worked well.
It really did.
It was
So
great.
anyway, we've got some things in mind for coming up. Give you a little foretaste there. I just got a half of a pallet full of crocktails that are just absolutely amazing. The hornback kind, the kind with the little, make you look like a Klingon if you wear a couple. You know, they're really pretty darn nice and cool, and the price is going to be extremely good. And we also came by a large quantity of Piraku pieces. I haven't seen a deal like that in a long time, because that stuff is expensive.
Yes, it is.
And these pieces are large and they're going to be cheap. Inexpensive. So yeah, so join us on Wednesdays. I don't know if we're always going to do it on YouTube. Typically it is on Facebook. So make sure that you like us and follow us on Facebook so that you get those notifications. But we can also, we do a video every Wednesday. So we might start featuring some of that merchandise here as well when we're doing our videos. So I understand you guys today are going to make a pancake holster.
We're going to attempt that.
I see no
see what happens.
pancakes here. There are none. There's
Well,
not a
we did not
We
bring
don't
you
have the griddle out yet.
You
I
can go
really
make
don't
us some
see the
pancakes,
benefit,
though.
to tell you the truth.
Well, these are going to be kind of chewy.
Pancake in the West, right
These are
there.
gonna
Where's
be
your
chewy.
syrup, buddy?
Your syrup. Yeah. Hand it over.
Anyway, I'm leaving.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Kevin. Okay, guys, down to the brass tacks here. We'll wait for Kevin's head to get out of the way. There it goes.
Wave bye to Kevin.
Bye, Kevin. Keep my dog out there, will you?
Yes.
Tried to get in a minute ago. Okay, Denny, well,
We're going to try to make a pancake holster today.
I have faith in us.
I think so too. And this is a lethal airsoft pistol.
It sounds very original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not a real gun.
No, it's not.
But anyway, we're going to use it for a pattern. It's very similar to a Beretta 1911, I believe. But it doesn't matter. We're going to make a pattern out of it.
Whatever gun you guys got,
Yeah.
you can make a pancake holster for it.
Yeah. And to start off with, the way I always make one, and that's the only way I know to show you.
Yeah, why don't we do it here?
Get over
Okay,
in the middle of the
that's perfect.
table a little
Look
more.
at that.
Very good. All right. First thing I'll do is make a rough outline, just with a pencil, an outline of the whole thing.
So like the same way that I start my knife sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very simple. A lot of people complicate it more than it needs to be. But that's not very visible, so let me darken the line. I'll tell you what, I'll do it with an ink
Well, I bet
pen.
Tony could make it a little darker.
With an ink pen.
Oh, there we go. That's okay.
Can you see that now?
Yeah, we can see that.
Just gonna try to move it around.
And what I've got here is just, like I said, a rough outline of that gun.
There.
Because we're going to actually wet mold this holster, so
So it doesn't have to be perfect.
no, it doesn't have to be perfect. And most people think, well, you've got to fit this thing really tight because I want the retention to be really good. I don't want to be running away from someone and have my gun pop out of the holster. But the way you gain retention is the way you mold it, not necessarily the way you stitch it. So anyway, I've got the gun there like that. Now, for the most part, here's my trigger. I'm going to mark that too. For the most part, I want this holster to cover the trigger, but leave that trigger guard open. Trigger guard is actually like this. Because when you reach for your gun, you want to be able to grab inside the
Okay.
handle itself, but you don't want to be able to grab the trigger and shoot yourself. I mean, that's a no-no.
Okay, so it has to cover the trigger, but you still
Right.
need to be able to get your finger behind the trigger. Okay.
Right. So I'm just going to, I'm pretty rough the way I do stuff. It's kind of different than most people, I'd say. But anyway, this will be the top of our holster on the outside, right there, where that trigger guard is. Then I'm just going to bring it back here a little bit. And this is just the beginning.
We have people asking what airsoft. Then they said, I've never heard of a Beretta 1911 before.
Well, a Beretta 9mm big gun. We'll call it whatever we want to call it.
Whatever the appropriate
Yeah.
thing is, you guys just let us know, and that's what we'll call it.
Okay, first off, I got to tell you, this is not technical. We're doing something that's pretty untechnical. All right, if you notice here, I came out approximately an inch from the top of this gun. This Beretta, not 1911 gun. But anyway, I came out about an inch there, and I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to come out about an inch, and then I'm going to kind of just follow the same line as I've got there.
I'm trying to see what caliber this is.
Guys, it's just an airsoft gun. We'll shoot you with it.
Shoots
It's-
plastic
24
pellets.
plastic and aluminum air gun shot. .24 caliber. 6.0 millimeters from Rogers, Arkansas.
Okay,
Look at that.
let me qualify this whole thing here.
Not about the gun.
I'm not showing you how to make a holster for this gun. I'm showing you how you can make a holster for any gun.
Your
all
gun.
right?
Well, we're just not going to worry about this.
Yeah, this is just a model.
We laid a gun out here, traced it on there, and now we're designing our holster around the gun that
Right.
we laid on the paper.
Right.
I think our customer base really likes their guns, Denny.
Yeah, okay.
I think they just want to pick on
Sorry.
you this morning.
Yeah,
Pretty particular.
and that's all right. That's all right. Okay. Now then, I've got the basic shape of the holster, the outside of the holster. But we're going to also need to put belt loops on it. So I'm going to come out here approximately like this. And there again, don't hold this against me if it's against all your rules and regulations. But let's go about like that. I think that'll be pretty pleasing.
So just a couple of kind of half circle-y
Yeah.
type things.
Yeah, just think of all the holsters you've ever seen in your whole life and think of what you liked and what you didn't like, and that's the kind of shape you're trying to make, is what you like. But I'm gonna make this one so it doesn't hang just straight on your side. I'm gonna make it where it kind of cants forward a little bit. So I'm going to put a slot up here. This will be a 2-inch slot. Then I'm gonna put another slot down here. If you'll notice, this is higher than this. That's gonna make the holster itself cant forward, because it's gonna make it right on your belt like this. So,
Well, Denny, that was real complicated.
yeah, I told you this. I told you this. This is precision. What I do is precision.
Okay.
I'm gonna come out just a little bit.
So for those of you that were super worried about the gun while we were going over it, we basically laid the gun out, traced it, and then made it an inch wider
Yeah.
down each side.
And an inch, that could be, I could stretch it out. In fact, I think I probably will stretch this out just a bit on
Okay.
this side.
Now, is this your stitch line?
Yeah, this will
Okay.
be the stitch line.
Okay.
But I'm gonna throw another kink in the works here in just a minute. All right. Now, can you all see what I've done there? I just stretched this side out just a bit.
You gave yourself a little more room.
Just gave myself a little more room. Now, I'm gonna take a handy pair of scissors here.
So we've determined that it's a Beretta M9. In case you guys were wondering.
Thank you, crowd.
Yes, I am.
I told them, I said, you guys are asking questions I didn't think we were going to ask.
We didn't even worry about the gun. Just grabbed one.
Well, we got some viewers from Texas, and you know how
Oh,
they are
man.
about their guns down there.
Oh, Denny, those scissors are making a terrible noise.
Sorry. Okay, I've got that. I'll switch to my handy dandy round knife.
That's nice.
I'm gonna cut this out. Approximately the way that I drew it.
Give or take.
Give or take. That's the way we do it here. Give or take.
You know, I was starting a knife sheath last night and I got my head knife out, but it really wasn't sharp enough. And I tried to cut a few things with it and I just put it back away because I don't have a strop handy like I should.
Yep, everybody needs to have a strop. If you have it. And your husband needs to get you a bench grinder with a buffing wheel on it.
There's one in the shop. I just don't use it.
Alright. Yeah, I'm putting that on there and see about how that's gonna fit.
Well, so let me
move it forward a bit.
So when you mold it, is your plan to more mold just the front instead of the back?
Yeah.
You want the
and
back to lay flat?
That's the kink that I'm gonna throw in the
Okay.
works right now. Okay, what I've got here is the shape of the front.
Ooh.
But it's gonna be the back because I'm gonna do something else to the front.
Okay.
Now I made our stitch line on this a bit bigger, right? But I'm gonna make it a bit bigger yet right now. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw around this pattern just the way it is. But when I get down here, over on this side, I'm gonna stretch this out. Say half or 3/4.
Whatever that eyeball measurement is,
Yeah,
that's good.
whatever that eyeball measure, just a bit, and let me tell you the reason why. Because when it goes over the gun, this is the back. When you put it over the gun, you're gonna make a bubble, and unless you want both sides to be shaped like the shape of the gun, you need to give yourself a little more room on the top side.
Right.
Because that's the part that I want to shape is the top side. I want
Okay.
the part against your body to be rather flat. So now I gave myself a little extra room there.
Okay.
So I'm going to cut that piece out. And I'll try not to do it with scissors.
Danny, do you plan on making a bandolier to go with this?
No. Most people don't. You could make a mag pouch for it, but we're not gonna do that today.
Okay.
Don't expect that today, you guys.
Al wants to know if you can mirror the pattern. I assume.
What do you mean mirror the pattern, Al?
Tell us what you're
Left
trying to do.
and right.
Sure. Yeah, this will work for a left or a right hand draw.
Just cut out the leather
Yeah,
the right way,
yeah,
the way you
just-
want it.
Yeah. I'm left-handed, so I usually make things left-handed. You can ask Liz, because everything I do, she says, you're left-handed.
Everything is backwards. He'll make a wallet and it all closes wrong. No, it's fine. He's just making it for the 2%.
Yeah. Tony.
How did the wife of
Tony,
a knife maker not have a strop handy? Listen, Josh. That's a good. You guys should all send Chris emails and ask him why I don't have a strop. Because they're hot, Salvador. It's hot in here. And the chaps are hot. The shaps are hot.
the chefs.
The chaps are hot. I did wear them on Monday when I came into the meeting, our store meeting that we have, but that was about all I could take. It's no longer cold in Missouri. It's probably about 60 degrees outside. So we were a few weeks late on the finish there.
Okay. Now I've got this pattern cut out, but it's a little bit different than what I drew on the original on the back side. So I'm gonna mark this line here. Then I'm gonna scoot it over.
Scoot that up just a
To the
little
end.
bit. There we go.
Okay, I'm gonna scoot it over to the edge of our pattern here. That,
So you're marking your stitch line?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to mark my stitch line. And I'm just gonna kinda go rather hard there so I can see this through the paper. I can, barely. I can. All right. Did I bring a straight edge?
There should be one behind us. There you go.
Mark this. All right, is everybody kind of halfway following me so far?
So we have a front and a back.
Yeah.
The front is slightly larger than the back because
Right.
it needs to mold.
Yeah,
And then you
yeah.
copied your stitch lines from the back of the pattern to the front of the pattern.
Okay.
Right? That's where we're at.
Exactly right.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
Will you show me that bubble up there one more time, Denny? See if you can see it there. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. That's approximately how it'll be.
Yep.
Okay. Now, since I can see through this paper, I'm gonna mark this loop. This loop. Okay. Now this is the front. Let me see. We have a here. He just thought the scissors made noise.
I don't think this is going to screech like they did.
Yeah.
So you're going to go ahead and cut your slots out in your pattern?
On the pattern, yes.
Okay.
All right. Now, when this is on, it will set approximately like that, which will put the gun at a slight cant. Okay. We've got the pattern drawn. Now let's put it on a piece of leather. I got some pieces. If you'll notice, this piece has big O ugly brand. It'll show you guys how you can use leather that's not just completely perfect.
Hey, if you put that
Perfect
pattern
for
piece
this.
there, look at that. That's an A-grade piece of leather right there.
That is, yeah, with a big O ugly brand there that you don't need. But you'll notice this is the back. This will I put a finish side towards the gun on the back,
Okay.
so I can put it right there.
You sure can.
Use that brand.
You're never going to know.
No one will ever see that. But that's not the point. Okay. I'm just going to draw around this.
I think that's a great point, Liz. You know, that's probably maybe a Craftsman grade piece. If we sold that, it'd probably be a Craftsman grade. We wouldn't sell it because it's a brand in it, but you use that part up there and it turns that into an A grade piece.
That's right.
Exactly right. That's why, you know, people that are making belts exclusively or strap goods, you know, probably wouldn't want that side of leather that has a big brand. But this, I guarantee this is on a prime part of the hide.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
back on the top of the butt, I would imagine.
that's where they put their brands.
Yeah. And so this is a great piece of leather. But it wouldn't do for a lot of people, but like a knife maker, a sheath maker,
It's perfect.
anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Small.
it's a great piece.
Small to medium, even large leather goods. If you can lay it out next to the brand, you know, that brand it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and I got this out of our shop. You know, in the shop we cut all sorts of odd shaped things, you know, and a lot of strap goods. But they cut this part out because they couldn't use it, you know, for what we sell out of the store.
It looks like we were probably cutting 12 by 24s out of this piece.
Yeah, but it's a great piece of leather.
What was the leather weight on this, Denny?
This is probably a 9 to 10 or a 10-11. If you've got a real small gun, you can get a little bit lighter weight leather.
Like an 8-9?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, an 8-9. But if you're making for a gun this size, you want pretty heavy leather so it has a lot of body.
Right.
You could also use 2 lighter weight pieces of leather and line it, you know, but that's another story. We won't go into that today.
That's a fancy holster.
Yeah. Yeah. And since I've got enough here, I'm not going to use that brand,
But you could.
but I could. Yeah. And I cut this out to be the left-handed holster.
That's okay, Denny. It can be yours.
Imagine that. All right.
You can walk around the shop with
Yeah.
your airsoft gun
That's
and
right.
pelt people who aren't working
Yeah.
hard enough.
Pelt them. Yeah. So you guys get with it.
Ooh.
We talked a little bit last video on Wednesday, and I think we're going to do an updated one with Rusty that's just more focused on blocking out a side, and I think this is a perfect example to go along with that. Saving you an extra piece to make a holster.
All right. Okay. Now you all probably can't see, that's a pretty light line. But
We embrace the
just-
patterns.
yeah, just realize I drew these 2 things on this.
And he
Right on the
didn't.
H. You didn't even use any of the
He
H.
didn't.
No, I didn't on this one.
That's pretty handy.
Okay. Now I'm just gonna cut this out. And I'm gonna cut the backside, the part against your body, I'm gonna cut it a bit big probably.
Because it looks like we brought in our handy Craft Plus little bench furniture here, so
Yeah, just for that.
we can make it real messy in here to finish those edges.
People keep asking for a airbrushing video. The problem with that is this video studio is not conducive to airbrushing.
No, you really got to have a spray booth to do that airbrushing. You really need a spray booth to
So-
do any sort of quantity.
We'll figure out where we can get cameras set up and do something live.
Bear with us.
Airbrushing.
It'll probably be a minute.
It'll have to probably be like a recorded part of it, and
Yeah.
we'll just sit here and talk with it for a minute, and then answer questions.
I probably won't be in that video since I've never used an airbrush. I wouldn't be
8
much.
years here and you've never used an airbrush?
Yeah, that's right. Maybe I ought to get in on that video.
Try that out.
All right, I got that part cut.
Oh, so I bought some of that new Finichi dye to use on one of my sheaths yesterday. I hadn't actually used the dye. We used that finished the other day in our finish video, but I hadn't personally used the dyes yet. And that stuff is so easy. It's got a nice thick viscosity, and you kind of put it on like the antique gel in a similar fashion, but you just keep rubbing, and I didn't have any problems with streaking or like getting too much dye anywhere. And it had like a little squirt top, which is really nice. Just applicator style. I don't know. I was impressed. It's more expensive for sure, but it was real nice and easy to use. I enjoyed it. Denny, you're having a good old time.
This is going to be a good holster. This is one firm piece of leather.
This is a mighty cow. Manhandle on that piece of leather.
If you notice, everybody else says, man, that round knife is dangerous. But I'm cutting all the way through it. I've got the knife buried in this stuff. That way it can't get away from me, hopefully. This could have blood in this movie.
Maybe we need to go to a different camera that's not showing anything.
Well, just be ready.
Get my phone out, ready to call Rusty. Bring out the brigade. We had to take Denny to the hospital. Oh my goodness. I'm scared. This is gonna mold really well.
Yeah.
This is gonna hold like Kydex, this piece of leather. Woo! You might need a break after this.
Yeah. I should have wet this piece of leather first. It would cut a lot easier.
So, Denny, if you were tooling this holster, at what point would you stop and tool it?
After I got it cut out.
Right now?
I would lay out the stitch line on the front and tool it now.
There you go. So we're not tooling this one,
Yeah.
but if you were, this is when you would tool it.
Yeah.
Good news, you still got all your fingers, all 9 of them.
Yeah.
All the fingers.
Yep, I made it. All right. Now, since this is the front, I'm going to go ahead and cut the slots out on it.
George said he's heard of cow tipping, but not cow wrestling.
Well, I had to wrestle this one.
We're here for education.
Okay. Now I've got that. I'm going to do this just like I did when I drew it on the paper. I'm just going to make a real firm mark over my stitch line here. That way it'll transfer to the leather itself.
I got it. Oh.
Yep, that's what I needed.
That's what you were going for.
You knew what I needed. All right. That's our stitch line. Okay, and since this is going to be stitched and this is going to be stitched, all this is going to be this will be connected here and this will be connected here. So I need to bevel the edge on this part and on this part and on this part and this part down below, because I won't be able to get to them very well after everything's stitched together.
That's right. You gotta remember to finish the edges before assembly if they're gonna be difficult edges to get to after assembly.
That's right, and that's exactly what these would be. And I'm using a number 2 Western type edger. I'm edging top and bottom.
Man, that is a dense cow.
Yeah, did you hear that? It's like cutting metal almost.
And that
And
back, this is a beautiful back right there. Are you gonna oil this when we're done? Oh, you're gonna sap soap. You gotta oil it a little bit.
yeah, we will oil it. I didn't bring any oil in with me. I forgot. I knew I
Tony.
would forget something.
Somebody.
But In reality, it probably won't be ready for oil because I'm gonna have to get the front wet
Okay.
to mold it.
To mold it.
And
Tony on Facebook said one slip with that round knife, and Denny's having sausages with his pancakes.
good one.
Oh, you guys are great.
All right, got that done. Now I'm even going to go one step further and burnish these edges before
That's
I
right.
go any further. And to do that, I'm just going to use a little bit of water.
You can pour a little bit more.
Okay. And this is just glycerin saddle soap. Just rub a little bit on both of those spots that are just wet.
Can I do this one?
You're welcome to. Then I'll just take, this is just a piece of canvas. And the saddle soap's important, but the main part is the water. Water and friction is what makes this nice edge.
Well, here, I'll just prep this one and then. That was the fastest burnishing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it doesn't take much a short spot like that. Alright, that's good.
You should have brought our. Hey, look at that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well,
Oh, yeah.
At the end,
I'm gonna be using that. I'm gonna use it for a rub stick. I was gonna,
Larry Schmidt.
Larry Schmidt. He made a comment in the video that I think I did with Andrew about the burnishing.
What were you doing?
I was burnishing. I was just burnishing.
You were burnishing. What was Andrew doing?
He was making the watch straps.
Oh yeah, the caiman tail.
Yeah, the came tail watch straps. And Larry let us know that he was like, hey, he's like, I make some of those burnishing wands. And he sent us a couple and they are gorgeous.
they
We're
are.
trying to get some
So
more
we're
from it.
trying to con Larry out of some more burnishing. What? Why can't I?
We're not
You know
gonna
what
con him.
else?
We're probably gonna pay him.
Yeah,
Guess what else I forgot?
What did you forget, Denny?
Cement.
Oh, rubber cement. I took it out of here because we were.
No, I
I'll-
need it.
He needs
I'll
it.
go get it.
Pretty
You got
bad.
I'll go get it.
Okay, we'll just stall.
Talk amongst yourself.
Yeah. Okay, I want to mark our stitch line on this too while he's gone.
So Denny, we did those edges, but if you were tooling it, you would tool it, dye it, and then finish those top edges.
Yes.
Does the saddle soap affect the edges
No.
taking dye?
No.
No.
The saddle soap won't.
So you could still dye through that if you wanted to.
If you were gonna use like gum trag or something like that, it would affect it.
Yes,
So-
and that also affects the surface. Like, don't gum trag if you haven't dyed yet, because then you won't be able to. It'll be splotchy and you'll be really sad. You'll have to start over again.
Yeah, you'd be sad.
You'll be
That's
sad.
true. Yeah, you know, a lot of that stuff is people don't think about, and then they call up and they say, well, hey, you know, I dyed the edges on that and they're splotchy looking,
Yeah.
you know, and
I did my edges and then I went to dye my belt. I had that exact thing happen a few weeks ago. We had a customer, he was making a belt and he had read all over the place people do their edges
yes, I do.
first.
I do.
Thank you.
I know you too well.
Okay, now this is the way this is gonna go together. This is the grain side. This is the part that's gonna be against your body, and it's gonna be the grain side. So this and this have to cement to this and this. So this is slick, so I'm gonna use this scratcher and scratch this.
Watch your
surface.
fingers on that. That will get you.
And it doesn't take much of this, you know, you just kind of roughen up the surface. Give the cement something to adhere to, something to grab with or against.
If you don't have a rougher, you can use like 60 to 80 grit sandpaper.
Yeah, anything, just
Yep.
get it wet. Okay, now I'm gonna take this cement, and I always use the contact cement. This is the stuff we use here in the store. Barge cement works good. So does Masters contact cement. What do we call this?
This is Van Grip.
Van grip. I have a mental block against that word for some reason. But it all works pretty well, basically the same way. This Van grip we really like though, because it's what we use all the time. That should be a hint. Hint, hint, you guys.
You'll have to call if you want to order some though, because it's not available on our website. Let's hear.
Yeah.
I've heard that you should not. Okay. Trisha has a question. She says, I have heard that you should not store your gun in the holster. Is that true?
Especially if you make it out of anything other than vegetable tan leather. Because the chrome tan leather will actually etch the metal. It'll corrode the metal. No, I don't think it really hurts if you've got a good vegetable tan holster. I don't think it will hurt to store your gun in that holster. I do it with my gun. And
I think sometimes people worry about like moisture getting into the holster. Like if your holster is wet, don't store your gun in it.
yeah, or if the holster's wet.
Yeah.
Or if the gun is wet, either, moisture is gonna.
Yeah, but if you're in a pretty dry climate and you don't expect that holster to be absorbing moisture from anywhere, then it's probably not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, you guys, this is the outside, the finished side of our holster, and I want to mold it. If y'all didn't hear that, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to get it wet now while this cement is starting to set up.
Okay. Do we put perfume on our leather? No.
I never have.
I suppose you could.
Maybe that's why everybody says your leather really stinks. No, I don't know. I've never heard of that.
No. I get no. I have here like veg tan leather. I know a lot of people really like essential oils, so you can definitely you can use vegetable tan leather as an essential oil diffuser. So that is an application that I'm familiar with. But as far as just perfuming your leather, that's not something that we practice here. Sometimes we get in some leather and it's a little stinky if it's been stored weirdly.
Yeah.
But that's
especially leather that's mildewed.
Yeah. But we try to not send that out. If we get mildew leather, Kevin throws that away. We don't send that out.
Yeah. Okay. Now, if you'll notice, I put water on the back side of this. I had already put the cement on. If you try and get your leather wet before you cement it, the cement's not gonna stick very well.
Yeah.
So I put the water on afterwards. Let me wet this front just a bit more. I don't want this leather just saturated. I want it where I can just shape it and it will take a shape. But if you get it too wet, it just turns limp.
Yeah, I remember in our molding video that we did, you soaked one and it just really didn't didn't do anything.
Yeah, I needed to let it dry out before I could really shape it. Okay, now if you'll remember, this length is bigger than this length, so I'm going to stick one side here.
Denny, I think it's raining.
Is it really?
That sounds like it's raining. If you were lining the holster, seeing how the one side is already smooth, would you only apply liner to the rough side only? To the inside? That's
up to you.
Yeah.
If I was going to line it, I would line the whole thing. I would line from here to here. I wouldn't bother to line this part out here where the slots are. But
would you line the back too?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
It would just give you a more finished type holster.
Sure.
But it's not necessary, It just depends on what you're after. Okay. Stitch line so I can see it just a little better. Hope this works, you guys. All right. It's everything's cemented together pretty good. It's time to go to the stitcher. And I'm going to stitch this on a class 26.
You would.
Yeah. Liz hates this because we've been trying to get class 26 stitchers for quite a while, and we've been getting a few. But
yeah. we should have some more on the way. So if anybody's waiting, I did talk to Heather. We've got some more coming, hopefully next week. But just it's
After you see this, just get in line.
yeah, just call us up, add your name to the very long list.
Are we ready?
You're good to go.
Al, I have made some horizontal sheets in the past.
Who has?
I have. He was just curious.
After I get this all done, I'm going to show you the holster that I made a while back.
Did you bring show and tell?
Yes, I did.
How exciting.
It's wrapped in that.
I was gonna say, I don't even see
You
it.
can show it up and you can show it off.
Well, we're watching you stitch. We
Yeah.
can't show it off.
Okay, yeah, you can't show it off.
No.
Okay. Make a couple of back stitches here to start off with.
What size thread are you using?
This is 138. A lot of people would use it like a 277, you know, they think you need a real heavy thread. This thread is stout stuff. You aren't gonna take it. And I think the smaller thread gives you a little more refined look. It didn't sound good. I made that knot on the bottom to start off.
Well, and Denny, we're sewing this wet, which is probably not ideal.
It's not ideal, but it won't hurt anything. Because I'm gonna take,
Oh, you're gonna take a modeler and you're just gonna.
yeah, and
Okay.
I'll rub most of these marks back out. A lot of people don't like machine marks. I don't. I think they're kind of mark of characters.
This was definitely not hand sewn.
No. You can hand stitch a holster. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there's not a lot of stitching to one, so take a huge long time. That's pretty good stitch line. Yeah, I kind of messed up. We won't show the back of this holster.
Okay. That's okay.
That's what somebody said. Jordan said Al Bain would be so upset you didn't hold on to your thread. Pay him the price.
Yeah, if I was gonna sell this holster, which,
Maybe we'll just give it away if somebody has a
well,
Beretta M9.
pull this. Use those stitches out.
Even that class 26 going through half an inch of leather.
It's a good little machine. That's why no one wants one, right? Okay, now I gotta mark some more stitch lines here. Get that part. Well, let's see if our gun fits in. How's
do that.
sound? It fits just like a glove on a rooster.
Well, Luna just let herself right in.
Luna?
Hey there. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah, that'll be just perfect. Okay, now that I know that, we'll go on. And I'm gonna set a stitch line probably about 1/8 of an inch. The rest of this to go around here.
On that stitch that you messed up, could you pull it out and just
Yes.
turn and go right around through there?
Yes, yes, I could. Maybe I will.
Well, Luna, you can open the door, but your thumbs don't let you pull. Here we are.
My dog is very talented, and as long as it's one of those pull-down handle doorknobs, she can let herself into any room. If it's got one of those little lever handles. Just clip those off.
Yeah.
Sew back over it.
All right, you guys, quit giving me trouble now.
Preston, there are a lot of awls out there on the market, and there's a lot of fancy ones, there's a lot of regular ones, there's old ones, new ones. I know Denny's got a pretty cool older one that Rusty found him at a Sheridan show, I think it was. I have one that I got from Crimson High that I love. It really depends on, like, I mean, the Osborne ones, they're fine. They're a good all.
Yeah, the main thing with an awl, you can spend as much money as you want to on an awl or a round knife or any of that stuff. The main thing is make them sharp.
Yeah.
You know, if they're sharp, they'll work.
Yeah.
I've never had very many really nice tools. Most of them I've kind of makeshifted all the way through my little career. All right. Now let's go stitch this. Since I pulled some stitches out, I'm going to start right here and come back up this way, come around. I'll stitch around here. Here, I'll just start here and come around, and then I'll stitch around the belt loops.
So you're really just securing those in so that the leather doesn't move on you
Yes,
when you finish them.
yes. I'm going to try and remember to
Hold your thread,
hold
Denny.
that thread.
Yeah, Denny, don't forget to hold your thread.
Here we go. I've got a hold of it.
Okay, good. And there is the back stitch on the machine. Then he just likes to do it by hand. That way you can just make sure that you're hitting the spots. It does a pretty good job about it, but we've messed enough things up already this morning.
I've got an old Adler machine, and it has a reverse on it, but it doesn't work very good, so I'm just used to it.
Habit.
Yeah, it's a habit of mine. Pull it up and back stitching by hand. Okay, I'll back stitch. How's that sound? I remember. I hate this little machine.
Yeah.
Makes it pretty easy, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's user friendly, that's why it lets me work.
Oh, Scott, dogs are the best. Apparently Scott's dog can do the same thing that my dog can do, and the kennel lets him know about all the jailbreaks that happen where he lets
Oh, the jail.
where he lets all the other dogs out of the kennel. They just want to have a homeward bound story.
Yeah. Such a good movie.
It is such a good movie.
I showed it to my daughters the other day.
Aw, for the first time.
Yeah. 12 and 5.
Did they cry?
I mean, you might have seen them crying.
through my tears.
I was cutting onions. That's what my tears. Michael has a question for you, Denny.
Let's hear it.
He wants to know what size bar grinder you used on his bell.
40.
A 40, Michael.
The Berry King, size 40.
And they come in a 3. Do they come in a 3 set?
No, they don't. He doesn't sell them in sets.
You have to buy them
He sells a lot of
individually.
different sizes. I have I believe it's a 7, 5, and a 3 in that size 40. And that's the one I use the most, is the size 40.
Yeah.
I also have a 35 and a 30. But they're pretty fine, you know.
Yeah.
It depends on how long you want to spend backgrounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo!
Zipping along.
But that's that real firm piece there.
It was a little struggle.
Well, to gain steam. But this machine has no trouble whatsoever stitching.
You say you can model the spoon those out?
Yeah, I'll show you here in a minute.
I'll wait patiently.
I don't use a modeling spoon, I use
A tablespoon?
a rub stick.
Oh,
A rub stick.
a rub stick.
All right,
Here comes the master.
we're all stitched. And we'll cut these. Do we have a thread burner here by chance?
I think there's a
You're done with your sewing machine over here, aren't you, Denny?
Pardon me?
You're done with the sewing machine over here.
Yes, I believe I am.
It would not come with a machine. There was. Hey, can you look in the,
What?
look in the drawer and see if there's a lighter?
No, it's a thread burner.
Thread burner. Sorry, guys. Thread burners. We don't sell lighters. Those are contraband. Anybody have any other questions? Any other fun dog tales?
Lee had a question, and he asked if we could use the 26 to sew fleece on a saddle.
It probably won't do that.
Yeah.
It probably won't do that. Doesn't have quite enough starch in its jeans.
Yeah, the 26 is for all intents and purposes like a flatbed cylinder arm. So it takes the same needle as your Cobra flatbeds or your high leads or your artisans or whatever machine, your Juki flatbed machines. It's a much smaller needle. It doesn't have as much height. Like 5/8 is the max. I typically tell people with a 26, like if you're sewing over a 1/2 inch on the regular, you probably need to step up to the 3 or the 4. Those just have a much larger diameter needle so that you can get through those really hefty things. That needle it's huge.
Yeah.
And the 3 and the 4.
This 26 though is probably the most universal machine.
Yes,
that we sell.
it
If
is.
someone's just gonna own one.
It is a great machine, and you can get a flatbed for it, turn it into a flatbed. You can do just a huge array of products on the 26. I mean, look, we just sold 2 pieces of 10-ounce leather together.
And that's some heavy stuff.
Yeah. It's stout.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut the slots again because I got 2 pieces of leather.
They were asking what color we were gonna dye.
We're going to do this beautiful thing natural.
Yep.
Somebody voted for hot pink.
It's up for auction. If you buy it at auction, I'll dye it hot pink.
My goodness. If anybody thought it was easy to drive a 2-inch slot punch through 20 ounces of leather, you're wrong.
Okay. Now then, I'm gonna trade places
We're gonna
with Liz
trade
here,
places.
and I'm gonna go to
hang
our
on.
handy little burning
Oh,
machine.
Wait, You can't do that yet.
Yeah, how heavy is this thing?
That's probably a
32.
32 ounce.
Well, I think
32.
this camera, Denny. Have you sewn breast collars on a 26?
Yes, it would do that. The only place that would have trouble would be up by the rings, but still, if you go easy on it, it would do it.
Yeah, I think we used a 26 when we did the ones I made. All right.
Okay, we're gonna burnish. Make a mess.
Yeah.
Stacy's gonna have to clean.
You're gonna sand first, right?
Yes.
Okay. Go for it.
We're ready?
Always remember to wear your ventilator when sanding.
Just do as we say, not
Or just your daily face mask at this point. That should keep out all the fuzz.
You're not sanding back over the part that you've already burnished before.
No, that's the reason I burnished it already, because I couldn't get to that sand. If you remember, I left that bottom part, the body part was called a bit big
Yeah.
for this purpose. All right, I think we've got it pretty good.
Okay.
Now, if you want to switch cameras back, I'll get a bigger edger.
Burnt leather.
I love it.
Which edger to use?
I'm going to use this number 4 because this is pretty stout piece of leather.
People always call and they say, I want to know which burnisher I need, or which beveler I need to use. It's all personal preference.
Yeah.
How round do you want that corner?
Yeah, and the thicker the leather you're going through, the bigger edger that you want. You know, if you were edging a wallet, this number 4 would cut the whole thing in two.
Yeah.
But there again, this is one of those Western edgers. It's kind of a fork type edger, like that. And it works really good for this. When you get down into real thin leather, it doesn't work very good because you'd be against the table with that regular edger.
Denny, I don't think I've ever seen an edger like this one before.
That is a tight corner edger that Rusty and I have talked about that. I don't know if he's ever found anyone to make us any of those or not.
Hey Liz, can you push that granite out of the way a little bit? The camera keeps on trying to focus on the granite.
Okay, and I'm edged all the way around the outside. Now I'm going to use this tight corner edger.
Ooh.
I want to get around the
Yeah, so this,
inside of that.
did he just find this for you somewhere? Where'd this edger come from?
We bought this one from Weaver.
Okay, okay. So it's got like a hook nose on it.
Yeah. Well, it's like a bisonite edger. You know, it'll push or pull.
Yeah, but it's got this little bent hook up here, almost like a crochet hook is what it reminds me of.
Yeah,
There you go.
but it makes it so you can turn a real tight corner, right? Piece right there I need to trim off. So you can get right on those little
That's
tight
amazing.
corners.
There's
at
a
the
tool
end.
for everything.
Yeah.
that sander that we were using, I think it comes with a 120 wheel and an 80 wheel.
Yes, that is
I'm
correct.
not sure what one is on there though.
I'm not either. I think it's probably the 120.
Yeah, because this looks like an 80. But unlike most, it doesn't say.
Okay,
Yeah.
now we're
definitely
all
120.
edged. Now, let's burnish these edges and then we'll actually shape this thing.
Okay.
When you wet a piece of veg tan leather, you should wet the whole thing. When we were doing the edges a while ago, I just wet the edges. But if you get it up on the surface of the leather, wet the whole thing or you'll leave a water spot.
When we knew we were going to get it wet again.
Yeah.
So. Wetting the whole thing.
Yeah, but I'm not getting this back wet enough where it'll shape. I'm just adding a little moisture to it so it doesn't spot.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna go
Saddle soap.
over it with the saddle soap.
You didn't saddle soap that side yet.
Right.
Does Denny have a rain rounder?
Yes,
What-
Denny does.
What is a rain rounder?
You can, well, if you do a lot of braiding,
I know what that is. It's your little metal thingy
Yeah.
with all the holes
has
in it.
little holes in it, different size holes. You do a lot of braiding, you can, after you've got your project braided, you can run it through that rain rounder and it'll even things out. Yeah, take a lot of the stretch out of your,
The next question that
Your
after we
project.
had if you had a rain rounder, can you do a video on it?
I guess we could, a short one. Maybe we can do it along with some other short video sometime.
I think he was using it for like a tote bag handles. Or,
Yeah. Yeah, I made a shotgun gun case out there that I used that made round handles. Okay, now that I've got that all burnished, now I'm gonna get this front wet, a little bit wetter than it was. There again, I'm not gonna wet the backside, just the front. That soak in a little bit.
So Denny, if you had done tooling on this, Wow.
This is the part you would want to be careful. You wouldn't want to go to the extremes that I'm about to go to.
okay.
You know, you can shape, if you've tooled it, shape it with your fingers. If you haven't, then you can shape it with
Will you move that water
a
bottle?
rub stick. Okay, now that I've got it wet again, put this in. And we'll get our rub sticks. Use this one first and shape the backside. See how that's rubbing those stitch marks out? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you folks at home can see that, but
I almost feel like it'd be easier for you to do this on the Poundo than it is on the slick,
probably would.
slick whiteboard.
Would.
Push all that off.
Pick it up.
All right.
That's fine. Yeah, trying to mold on that whiteboard, it's just everything moves around on you.
there, Denny?
Below.
I'm over here.
There we go.
I've got your head in there.
Nope. Please do nothing
guys-
like normal.
You guys are never pleased. Are you? Can you see it now?
Yep, you're doing great.
Can you see those stitch or those machine marks disappearing?
It's magic.
Okay. Now I'm going to use the round end of this little deal.
Up a little bit. There we go.
Put a little more water on it. And you guys, if you're doing this on a gun that you're afraid is going to rust or something, spray it with some WD-40 and wrap it in a piece of cellophane or a baggie or something.
Yeah.
So this is an airsoft gun. We have more questions about the gun. Airsoft gun. And it's, we were told that it's a Beretta M9. So I think that's the conclusion we came to at the beginning of the video.
Okay.
But it's not about the gun, guys.
No contraire.
Okay. We've got a pretty good shape there. You know, a lot of people will, to gain a little retention, if you push it down in that trigger guard a little bit, you'll gain a little bit of retention right there when it dries because you're actually coming over that hump. But this is pretty good right now. Now you can go further with this, you know, I mean, you can just keep shaping on it. But like as far as what Liz was asking about if it was tooled, this is as far as I would go, you know, just shaping it with my hand.
Well, I've seen some people, once they get it to this, they'll actually do maybe some light tooling here to kind of mimic decorations in the gun or things like that.
You could do that.
Maybe not tooling, but maybe like using a swivel knife to like cut in lines or do
just-
something.
Yeah, just some finger carving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a holster I made for myself a while back that I tooled. And, you know, it's, you know, I just hand shaped it.
You want to go to the overhead, Tony?
Yeah, I just hand shaped it and it's got pretty good shape and it's pretty good retention to it. But that's what you can do. That's a pretty good holster.
There it is. Now you just let it dry.
There's all sorts of variations you can do to it. You know, you can put a strap on it, you know, with a thumb break or something like that if you wanted to, or just a fold over snap and a line 24 snap to hold it.
Yeah. We've got. Yeah, so there it is. It'll dry for a good 24 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, as far as drying, I would take the gun out of it
Yeah.
while it dried. You know, it'll dry a lot faster. Plus, if you leave the gun in there, then it will want to rust all the steel parts that are in it.
Well, so sometimes what I'll do with my knife sheaths, and I'm just curious if this would be the same, I will remove the knife from the sheath and then I might push it down a little bit
Yeah.
and just to create a little bit smaller gap so as it dries, you're creating just slightly more resistance.
Yeah, plus the fact that right now this wet leather is swelled a little bit.
Yeah.
So when it dries, it'll shrink back to its
Yeah.
original thickness. So it will loosen some in that respect.
Right.
So if you do what you just said, that would be a good thing.
Feel a little bit more tension. When doing a pancake with different size front and back, do you normally add a dowel to make a sight channel?
No, I wouldn't. I would make the sight channel with the gun itself. you know, because you're talking about like this part right here of the gun, the sight, it sticks up above the barrel. When you put it in there, it's gonna plow its own groove in there. And that's, if you start putting something like a dowel in there, you create more space and you lose retention that way.
Right.
So I don't.
Okay. Well, are there any other things that we need to know about making holsters?
Anything we need to know?
Yeah, anything we need to know?
Unload your gun. Don't shoot yourself or anyone else. Can help it.
Please practice gun safety.
Yes. Yes. No, there's so many different things you can do with it, but like I was saying, as far as the retention goes, that depends on how tight you want to mold it, because the holster is going to stay the way you shape it when it's wet.
Yep.
So that's where your retention comes from. I could have probably not stretched this out quite as far.
Yeah, you got a little extra room.
And made it a little tighter, but that really doesn't matter. You can put a bigger gun in this same holster and reshape it to that.
Multi-use.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it took us like an hour and 10 minutes
And it's done.
to design and make a holster.
Yeah. Yeah. But, if someone hired me to make a holster, I would probably spend more than an hour and 10 minutes. But to show you guys the basic rudimentary steps to take, I think we pretty much covered it, don't you?
Yeah. It's not that difficult. There's a lot of, like with anything, there's a lot of additional things that you could possibly do to it to jazz it up however it is that you're wanting to. But this is what you're gonna.
Well, I would have probably spent 10 times as much time on the pattern itself.
Right.
But the actual construction of it, there's not much difference. But,
No.
But making the pattern, I would make it and then look at it and I would tweak it a little bit
Maybe
here.
lay it
or
over
there,
a little bit. Yep.
And I might start over several times before
Pattern
I got
making-
one that I really liked.
Yeah, pattern making is most of my time as a sheath maker.
Yeah.
It's just you stare at that knife for forever until you're like, oh, I've got a fun idea.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
But if you do it on paper is pretty cheap compared to leather.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
So you can just keep redoing it until you get something you like the looks of. And that really, folks, is what it all boils down to, is what you like the looks of.
Sure.
There are no cut and dried rules as to how a holster should be. Other than when I was telling you about the trigger guard, pay attention to that. Don't have an exposed trigger, unless you're some Roy Rogers fast draw guy.
Let's hear. Frodo wants to know how long until it'll hold its retention.
It'll hold its retention until you lay it somewhere and pile a suitcase on top of it without a gun in it and mess
Flatten it back out.
Yeah.
But I would give this 24 hours to dry. That's what I would do. At this point.
How long before it will hold its
Maybe.
retention?
Yeah.
Till it's bone dry.
Yeah. You want it to be dry. Finishing in oil after it dries.
Hold on. After it does dry, say we let it dry like this and it has its retention, how long after that would it hold it?
Like
Forever.
you said, until he squishes it with a suitcase.
Yeah,
Just not
until
squishing with a
until
suitcase.
you do something to leave it overnight or for an extended period of time out of shape.
Yeah. Yep. The finishing and oiling after it dries?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If you tooled it like this, when I built this, I tooled it and then I put an antique finish on it before I stitched it all together.
So
I
you
oiled it
Okay.
and put the finish on it before I stitched it together.
and that's before you molded it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you molded it afterwards.
But I didn't put any finish on the underside of the leather.
Right.
That way I could get it wet and still mold it.
So I always take my spray bottle and I spray inside my knife sheath. And then I let that soak up. And then I put the knife in it to mold it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
There's always variables that if you do one thing, you've got to do another thing.
Yep. Those decisions.
But it's also a thought process, think about what you're doing. Like right now, I could still dye this, I could antique it, do whatever I wanted to and not hurt a thing other than it would color my stitches.
Sure.
It
It affects something.
So that's what it will affect,
Mm-hmm.
But there, like I said, there's no cut and dried rules. Everything is however you can make it work.
That's right. That's right. Okay, guys. Well, that's our Friday. Lefty has kindly reminded us that you should click that like button, subscribe to our channel, set up notifications. But we're here every Wednesday and Friday at 11, which is pretty straightforward. So, that's when you can find us. Sometimes it's at 10:45.
If Kevin's involved.
If Kevin's involved. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.